Well, how can you create an overlapping section or a two-tone background in Webflow? I'm going to show you how to do that. It's super easy. I'm going to give you 3 ways to do it depending on what you need to accomplish. And so let's jump into the computer and check things out. All right, well, here we are in the computer, and I'm going to show you how to do this section right here. I'm going to give you 3 different techniques, and it's really going to depend on what you are hoping to accomplish. And so if you want to be this kind of the Webflow way, what you're going to do is you're going to select a section right here, and then you're going to come over here to the Styles panel, and you're going to go to, I'm just going to go ahead and reset this. We're going to go to the plus button. We're going to click on the gradient. We're going to make sure that it's going down like this. And what we need to do is we need to set 4 points. And part of this is where things can get a little bit difficult. So I'm going to show you a little easier way that's going to use the same method, but with some code here in a moment. But what we need to do is set 4 points. So we're going to go ahead and set our first point, and then we're going to set our second point. The first section right here, you can do this with the color or whatnot, but I'm using just transparent, and I have a transparent variable set up in my variables panel. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go to the second point, and I'm also going to click on transparent. I'm going to go to my third point, and this is where the actual background is going to come in, and I'm using a dark background for this. And then I want to go to the last one, and I want to use the same dark background. Now, having it like this, you notice that there is a little bit of overlap, and that doesn't look nice. So we want to make sure that these 2 center points are at the same exact spot. So let's go here, and let's say we want this to be at 50%, and then we want the other one to be at 50% as well. Now, this is where things get a little bit difficult, but in order to manage, but at this point, what it allows us to do is get that nice hard line. So if we click off of that, we can see that we have this nice hard line there, and we've done that on our section. Now, if we click on 2, we're going to see that this still works for our iPad. If we go down to 3, we're going to see that we're looking good here. And then if we go down to 4, we're going to need to make a little bit of an update, because all of this is coming from our desktop breakpoint. So here, actually, we're pretty good. So in this instance, we didn't necessarily have to make an update, but say we wanted to make this line come up just a little bit further here on mobile. Well, what you have to do, and this is where I think things get a little bit tough, is say you want these 2 center points. Remember, there's 4 points, and 2 of them overlap here in the middle. What we need to do is we need to have both of these come up just a little bit. So we can click on 1, which is going to be our BG dark, and say we want this to be at, let's do 40%. So it's going to push it up, and then we want our top one, it needs to be at 40% as well. So now that gets pushed up, and we can move this, and we can see, okay, that looks okay. Maybe we need to go 45% to bring it back down, but then we have to click on this other one, and we got to bring that back down to 45% as well. So now we look good here. All right, so that's one way that you can do it. You can use the background, you do your gradient, make sure it's 180 degrees, and you set your 4 points and select all of the stuff. So that's one way. Let me show you a second way to do this. And for our second way, we're going to come over here to this page, and I've set this second way inside of this component, and I've actually done this with code. So the same thing that we just did with our panel over here, we can actually do this with our code. Now, this can be a little bit more difficult, but if you're going to be setting these backgrounds a lot throughout, this could be a faster, quicker way to do this. Once you write it once, then you are good to go. And so I'm going to set my variables in the root, and you notice that what I've set is I've set a top and I've set a bottom. And if we come down to the actual section that this is going to be applied to, you see here this section pastors. This is going to be a background. It's going to be the linear gradient, basically exactly what we just did in the styles panel. And we're going to have our top and we're going to have our bottom. And these are going to be our colors. And the way that we can get this variable right here for our colors is over here in our variables panel. And so for me, I like to go ahead and set everything inside of the variables panel. In the variables panel, I also have a transparent one, which is what I do. So all you have to do is come in and click on those three dots, click on copy CSS. Then you have to come back over to this panel, open back up your embed, and then you can paste this in right here. So that will get pasted in. And the same thing for your background dark. You're going to come over to your variables panel. I have mine in themes, background dark, copy CSS. Then I'm going to come back over here to my embed, and then I would paste this right there. The next thing that we want to do is we want to turn up, where's that split? So in our style panel, we had that overlap, and sometimes that could get a little bit difficult to move or control. Here we can set one split, and if you notice, this split is going to be for the second point on the top, and it's going to be for the second point on the bottom, just like in our styles panel. But here we only need to change the number once, and it's going to recognize where it should be at for both, or where that line should be on our gradient. And so we set 40, and then you can do some media queries, which is going to allow you to set it for iPad or mobile landscape. You see that I have this commented out right now because 30 is going to go all the way down. And then right here for mobile portrait, we're going to set our media query, and it's going to be at 20%. Now, one of the things that this does allow you to do that the style panel doesn't is it does allow you to make sure that, or it does allow you to really fine tune things. So if you need to set more media queries, or if you find that the ones that are kind of natively built into Webflow are not working, then you can set some different ones within the code. The other thing that this allows you to do is it allows you to create a component, and that's exactly what I did here. I created a component, so I can come here and commit Command E to get to, or Command E to get to this, and then I can just say background. And I have my background gradient component. I can unlink that, and then I can go in and just add in the section that I want to target, and then change out what these need to be with my variables. I can even come in if I wanted to and create some keys here for all of the different backgrounds that I'm going to use, and then I can just easily change this out really fast. So that's a second way that you can do that. Now, both of these do not really work if you have a section like this one right here. Now, this section here is a component, and what I need to do is I need to give my client the ability to do a couple of different things, because this component is used on almost every single page on the website. And so you notice that I've created some properties over here. I have a property where we're not going to have any sort of panel at the top. And the reason for that is so that this would look like it's overlapping the section above. And so if I take this and I get rid of this top panel, now it doesn't look as if it's overlapping that section as much, though it still kind of does, but it gives me the opportunity to not have as much padding there. So we can put that back. But what I can do is create a top panel, which is going to allow me to change the color so that it can match the color on the section above it, and then a bottom color, which I can set to whatever I want. And in certain portions of this website, these colors needed to change. And so that's why I did it this way. And so let me show you how I set this up. If we pop into this component, you're going to notice that I have created a background wrapper. And the reason I did this is so that I can then connect the properties to the component. So I'll show you that in a second. So what you would do is you would throw in a div, and you're going to create a custom element. You're going to put two more divs in. You're going to make these custom elements. And I've labeled this one background wrapper top, background wrapper bottom, and background wrapper bottom, or top and bottom. And you notice that I've given it give for the actual section here. So that way I'm not duplicating classes if I had to use this in another component. And this top wrapper, if you notice, I've given it width of 100%, height of 100%, display flex, and position absolute. I've set the Z index to 0. Now what I've also done is come in and I've taken this top one and I've given it width 100%, height is 30%, because this is what's setting our height right here, and it is position static. Same thing for this next one, but the height on this one is 70%. And so what that's doing is it's just controlling this height here. So if I was to go in and update this, you notice that this height kind of changes. One of the things that you could do is just set this height to 100%, which I think would actually be the better way to go. So set the bottom one to 100%, and then you're going to use this top one. You're just going to control it here. And so 100% for the top is basically going to be about 50%. And then you can move this up and down depending on where you want it to go. Then you can also go down into your iPad version. You can go down into your mobile landscape and see how that one's looking. And you can go down here to your final version. Now, what I've done, if you look here, is I've given it a class of background color. And I've given this a class also of background color. And if we pop into the properties, you're going to notice that I have these classes set throughout my project that would allow you to add background color just by putting BG Light, BG Light 2, BG Dark 2, etc., etc., etc. And so what this allows me to do then is it allows me to put a combo class on here. If I was to change this, change so dark 2, light 2, and so on and so forth using the key right here. These are just combo classes, and all this is doing is applying a combo class on top of this, which allows you to change the background. But if you set it using a custom element, then you're able to put in the class, you're able to connect it to a property, and then you're able to expose that property out here. So then out here, if I wanted to change this to something different, say I wanted this to be light 2. So those are 3 different ways that you can create this overlapping section look, or this two-tone background. Hopefully this was helpful for you and gives you some ideas on how you can create some overlapping sections. If you enjoyed this video, give me a like. And if you have some sort of thing that you want to learn in the future, then drop that down in the comments and I'll try to create a video on that.